were, I don't know how we did it, but we were continuously confronting people in the classroom and elsewhere. And we spoke to some pretty interesting groups. We spoke at Mansfield Reformatory. They had asked us, I guess there was some type of a problem that they were having, and we spoke to them there. We spoke to, Dolores spoke in a high school. One time we never got invited back to do that again. That was in 73. We took the position that we needed to confront homophobia at all levels that we could. So we didn't hesitate from any time we saw that there was any kind of a anti-gay thought expressed that we needed to challenge. Dolores was always in the forefront of that. She also was very good at something I wasn't good at. I was good at, making my presentations and confronting people and that kind of thing, but I was not real good at dealing with people who were a little bit nervous and closety and afraid to kind of come out. So Dolores is one of her strengths. When we had a meeting, she could recognize, it's like she had kind of radar, where at the Student Center here, we would have our meetings up on the second floor there, because our meetings were very large. Sometimes we had 80 people, okay, and many from the community and many from campus. So Dolores would recognize when somebody would walk by the hallway but not come in, okay, because they were afraid. And she picked up on that because she was very sensitive to that, and she would find a way to get out there somehow and get the person down at the corner of the hallway where she could talk to them and they wouldn't be afraid they'd be seen coming into a group of gay people, because they were still afraid to do that. And so one of the things that Dolores contributed to our movement was she made people at all levels of how far in or out of the closet they were feel comfortable. And she had the way of being non-threatening. Can you say your grandmother type? I mean, she had that type of ability to make people feel comfortable. I, on the other hand, was a little bit more in your face. So we kind of worked well together. I think I probably did, with Dolores, I would guess we did at least 150 public talks. And I mean, we spoke in places, we went one place I remember real well. We spoke at University of Akron on the second floor with their student center. They didn't have an organization at that time. And we had people that were Bible thumpers. Now that phrase is a real phrase. These people were there with their Bible thumping so that they could try to make Dolores and myself not be heard. And so we go there and we have like 30 of them in the back. And if you've ever met Dolores, and I think probably most of you have, she does not come across as a radical, threatening person. She comes across as your aunt or your grandmother or your friend, okay? And pretty quickly in the conversation, you can pick that kind of vibe that she gives off. So the Bible thumpers were totally disarmed, because they couldn't say what they would normally say to me, to her, because she was confronting them with her image and her I don't know how you would put it, but she always was almost stately. Is that, those of you who met her kind of know what I'm talking about. She kind of came across as, you wouldn't dare attack me, I'm so nice, kind of person. And so she was able to kind of quell that situation down, because if I had started talking, it would have been maybe in the wrong direction. But she was able to make people feel comfortable with the topic. You have to remember the time. People were not comfortable talking about this issue. And I'm talking about very uncomfortable talking about this issue. So can you imagine Dolores? She wasn't a threat to anybody appearance-wise or in terms of her demeanor. She was able to make you feel almost immediately as though, I may not agree with your preference, but I'm going to treat you well because you're like a person that I would feel very bad if somebody saw me yelling at you. I don't know how to express those terms, but you know what I'm talking about. She put people at ease. And the other thing that we did was we spent a lot of time worrying about those people who were just coming out of the closet and had issues in terms of personal feelings that they were dealing with and that kind of thing. Dolores was a master at handling that. You know, some of us were better at public speaking and dealing with issues in that demonstrations or whatever. So Dolores had the whole range of things. And one of the things she was able to do was sense when somebody was having issues coming out and had questions or needed more conversation. And she was always the first person to recognize that in somebody and take them for a coffee, okay, and get them to where she could have a one-to-one talk. And those kinds of things are pretty hard to put your finger on, but when you see a person that does that, you know full well that they are a special person. And she was a special person. And I could go on forever, those of you who know me, so I'm not gonna, I just talked for 3 hours with you the other day. So Dolores was, I don't know, she was a combination of your grandmother, a politically astute observer, like a sociologist might be, my background. She was a person who knew what to say to somebody just coming out, who was dealing with threatening situation in their life, who had issues based upon the prejudices that were directed against them, and she knew what to say. And that's my biggest compliment I can make, because in 78, 79, back when it wasn't so popular to be gay, she knew exactly what to say and said it.